case you need to clear your throat or have a drink of water.
Oh, I love it. I got my big old glass of water right here.
Okay.
Hey, buddy, get up on the couch. There you go. Sit. Lay down. Yeah, bud.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back again to the Millionaire by Morning podcast show. We are here today with Sean Baptiste. He is the co-founder and chief creative officer of Dream Key Syndicate, a venture focused on the intersection of community, ethical AI, and creative storytelling. With a rich background in comedy and a deep history in the gaming world, Sean has spent decades at the heart of the entertainment industry. His career includes impactful tenures at iconic studios such as Bethesda, Harmonix, and Adult Swim. From producing the cult favorite Lunchtime Games and orchestrating massive live streams for QuakeCon to his current work developing original animated series like The Angry Shaman and Crane Dog. Sean's journey is defined by a relentless drive to build communities around bold, satirical, and genuinely original content. And we would like to welcome Sean to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. This is, I would have to say, you are the first person that I've had that is a part of the entertainment industry, especially as it relates to creative officer, chief creative officer. And so this is awesome. I know it's going to be an awesome conversation, man. So if you were meeting someone for the first time, Sean, and shaking hands at a networking event, how would you approach them and let them know about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, how I would start is generally I like to ask them about them. I like to know about the people I'm talking to. But as far as me, yeah, I was in the video game industry for a little over 20 years, working from development to marketing on some of the biggest titles in all of video games, to be perfectly honest with you. And then, also working in entertainment on the other side of it from animation with Adult Swim, but trying to really bring huge communities of people to feel part of a larger experience so that, what we were building as far as games or cartoons or whatever we were building, that the audience that was there felt like it was not just something they were passively watching or passively part of, that they were part of a larger community and feel like part of a movement. And that's where my heart lies. That's what I like making.
That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
So, man, to a lot of people, especially in the generation of, let's say, which is my crowd. So Generation X, I will speak for Generation X.
Same here. I'm Gen X as well.
Okay. All right. So we'll be on the same path here.
Oh, yeah.
So we've seen come about Atari, and then Nintendo, and then the Sega Genesis. And then, so at that point, we was on one side of the screen and thinking, this is the best thing ever, right? So when you were younger, did you have a knack to be on the other side of the screen, developing? And were you, instead of wanting to be the user interface, did you want to be the person behind the scenes that were making the games?
Like transparently? No, because in a way, and it's so funny, like how many of us who are like Gen X who are in the game industry, like when we were kids and we were playing video games and like through the 90s and everything, it was super exciting to play games and all of that. And it was such a huge part of us growing up. But at the same time, it never felt like that was like a real job that people had. You would hear maybe like somebody be like, yeah, my uncle works at Nintendo, but that was like never the case. That kid was just always lying, just 100% lying. So it never felt like something that was like a real job. For me, I was more into like performance arts. Like I started off right after college as an actor, working as an actor and working as a playwright. That was more my focus. I just wanted to create things. But due to some medical setbacks, I ended up being unable to kind of continue down that path for a while and kind of stuck. And really all I could do was kind of, as I was, trying to recover, trying to survive, kind of play video games. And as I was playing, I kept being like, you know what? There's so much like that here that's like theater, right? There's this, you build something, you create this world, you create these gameplay mechanics. So on one side, you have this person making something, but then you're also interacting with the audience that's playing it at the same time. And it's kind of this dance between the two of the person who made it and the person who played it, which is exactly what theater is. And it became this thing that I started to become obsessed with. And I knew like if I could get surgery and everything and be okay, that if I came out of that alive, I was like, I don't care what happens. I will double down. I will do whatever it takes to get into this industry. This has to be like a job. And I was playing a game called Frequency and Amplitude. Those are two games made by Harmonix Music Systems, formerly of Cambridge, Massachusetts. And they were just like 45 minutes away from my house. So I was like, I'm going to get surgery. I'm going to live through it. And then I'm getting a job there. I don't care what happens. After I got my surgery, I applied for 6 straight months or 6 straight like months. And I was just constantly applying. And they kept saying this will never happen until it did, till they actually did need somebody to come in at like a just entry level position, testing out a karaoke game. And, and then I was like, I don't care what anybody does. Nobody's pulling me out of this industry. I will do whatever it takes to stay.
That's a crazy story of resilience, man. And not just the part of the job. Let's talk about the injury. You haven't even touched on that yet. So there was a brain injury. Am I correct?
Yeah. So when in my mid-20s, I was having these crushing headaches, like absolutely crushing, blinding headaches. You couldn't see anything, and it just felt like, and nobody could give me a straight answer. I didn't have health insurance at the time, so it was like, getting a I could get a CAT scan that wasn't going to show anything, but I couldn't get anything like a real proper scan. Once I finally could, turns out I had a brain tumor. And I still, to this day, I still have the brain tumor. Like that's, 24 years later, I still have it. Like it's still there, right in the, right in between my eyes. If you went right and back and found like the exact middle of your brain, that's where my brain tumor is. It's very, very tiny. It's like pea-sized, but it stops all the cerebral spinal fluid from getting out of my head. So what I was getting was a condition called hydrocephalus, where your brain is basically the sac that holds the cerebral spinal fluid keeps growing. So your brain is like pressed up against your skull. So to rectify that, I needed to get surgery. I needed to have like a special device put into my head, like where they basically, there's like I have so many holes in my head, like a scar here. And they put a straw right through your brain down into that sac where the cerebral spinal fluid is. And then there's a pump, and you can actually feel it. It's like an egg shape right here. And it, using barometric pressure, can determine like how much needs to be pulled out. And then it runs down into my abdomen. So it's very painful. It's a very, very painful process, very, very painful surgery. But once I got it, I was like, okay, I was just like a new man. Like I came out of it and I was like, this is any life I get after this is icing on the cake. I'm just gonna be thankful for it. So yeah. And then we'll maybe get to it later, but then there were troubles with that. After I got my career really going and I was taking off, I'd been around the world. I've been like hanging out with like the Beatles and stuff for video games because we worked on a Beatles game for that. And I had a recurrence of it. The device failed multiple times, and I had like 12 surgeries on my brain between 2009 and 2010 in a 6-month span. And I don't know who I was. Like, I had to relearn how to be like a person over the period of about 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But that meant like everything I'd built in my career up until that point, gone. So I had to like relearn how to do everything and then just claw my way back into having a life that I wanted, you know?
Clawing your way back. That's amazing.
Never give up. Just keep on pushing, keep on clawing. That's
and even with the clawing, like you claw to a certain point and then you're like pushed back off of the mountain. And
that's right.
Climb back up.
Yeah. That's kind of what it felt like. Like I had built one of the biggest, like I became like the head of community for Harmonix after having done a few other things there. So that was when we'd done Guitar Hero, and then Guitar Hero had led into Rock Band. So we were working with like some of the biggest bands. I was traveling all over the place. We were doing stuff with The Who and with the Beatles and with the Foo Fighters and all of these bands. Like going to the drummer from the Grateful Dead's house for spaghetti to go pitch them on being in the game, like just crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden, all of that was gone because I couldn't do anything. I didn't even know who I was. Like I had to like write stuff down and be like, this is your name. This is who you are. Just so when I woke up in the morning, I wouldn't be confused. It was that bad. Like, and my wife was like there to like help me rehab and get cognitive therapy and just like learn how to be a person again. So basically who I am now and who I was then, it's basically it's the same skin, same all of that, but it's two very, very different people.
Geez, man. And gosh, what you're explaining, maybe I should interview her. She has a story to tell. Right?
Oh, she definitely does.
Oh,
she was
man.
in games too. Yeah.
She does. She's in the gaming too?
Yeah, she was a writer, is a writer in games, and like lots and lots of writers. She got her master's from Harvard through the extension program in like anthropology, but how that applies to video games, like how cultures, like if you're writing a world for a video game.
If you're writing a world.
And just like her, she can say it way better than I can because she's way smarter than I am. But yeah.
No, you just made sense to me. That's probably the only way that I could understand it. Writing a world for a video game. And that's so, like, if you could explain, there's so many of us out here that don't know how it works and all of the work that goes into it. Can you kind of explain, you mentioned it being earlier, a production of sorts? Does the same work go into, let's say, making a blockbuster movie or a play or directives? Like, how much goes into this gaming world and creation of a game?
Yeah, I mean, so much. There's so much because there's so many disciplines, right? Like, all right, so if you're in, say, music, like understanding sound engineering and then also understanding music theory and all of that, that's like you have those things. And then promotion and how contracts work, you have all of those sort of silos for music. For movies, you have to pick the visuals, and there's acting, and then there's the promotion of it, the rollout, how box office works, getting distribution. Those are those pillars. But then if you go in video games, it's kind of all of those things. Like you have so many different departments and you have so many different disciplines that happen. And all of these things have to be, all these departments, all of these disciplines, all of these very, very brilliant people have to be coordinating across things. So you have your artists making your art. You have your animators turning in that art into animated characters. You have people who are just working on backgrounds. You have people who are just making like the special effects, right? You have writers who are writing like what the world is in the game and writing the text for the game. You have narrative designers who work in between those writers and also the artists to be like, because a story isn't just like what you write down on the page. It's also, oh, what would this person have hanging on their wall? like in their bed, like this character in their bedroom or in their office, what would they have up there that says something about them? Like, how do we tell the story visually as well? You have all sorts of different types of programmers and engineers who are all working on who have different disciplines. You have programmers who just work on physics in games. You have other ones who just work on making the graphics pop. Then you have all sorts of managers for each of those departments. And then you have quality assurance. And then you have the sound engineers. And it can scale up to these massive productions with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. The gaming industry in so many ways ended up eclipsing, and certainly by as far as money goes and, how much it was bringing in, more than, I think at this point, more than the music industry and the film industry combined. It's huge, but it's also going through probably the most difficult time it's had in decades. Just something like 60% of the industry in the United States has been laid off in the last 2 or 3 years.
What?
Yeah, it's really a lot of it has to do with consolidation, like Microsoft, Sony, some of the larger publishers buying up studios, buying up publishers of games, and then kind of like just laying people off, basically taking the IP, the intellectual properties from those studios and some of it, and then just laying off mass amounts of people or moving those jobs overseas.
Yeah. And does it also, that part, does it relate to the fact that, how should I say this? The game in the marketing world, right? Mm-hmm. You have now influencers, and you can have one person, all the eyes are on one person. So in gaming, does it work that way as well? Like, we're just now seeing that, like, Minecraft is the game. Used to, games would be spread out. So, if you had Pac-Man, you also had Contra, and you also had, Zelda, and you had, different games, but there wasn't just one popular game that eclipsed it all. But now It seems like when Grand Theft Auto comes out, like, that is the thing. When it's a Minecraft game, that is the thing. So does that have anything to do with it, would you say?
Yeah, I think that definitely has been a major part of everything that's happened. So you have the games, like the big games being like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, Call of Duty to an extent, Battlefield. There's these large, always on live services. So basically people get the game. Sometimes those games are free. Like in the case of Fortnite, the game is totally free to play. You play it, but then they get you because then you're buying like cosmetics for your character and making things so you can like, oh, I want to look like Homer Simpson. Okay, and then you can buy the Homer Simpson pack. But then as people spend more money, the consumer spends more money on a specific game or a specific platform. That's sunken cost now. They're stuck in that game. They don't want to move to another game. They don't want to pay for something else because now they've put $300 into Fortnite. They're not going to move over to Battlefield. They're not going to move over to playing some game that, like, some cool little, role-playing game or something like that, or they're playing by themselves. It becomes part of it has completely changed the economics of it. And I don't think ultimately for the good. I think it's better to have a larger ecosphere rather than the consolidated everything. But yeah, I've been, like, as far as the influencers go, I was one of the first people, like marketers in video game, to work with like Twitch streamers and give out codes to them to play our games to get wider exposure. So yeah, that starting in, I would say that probably started around 2011, 2012.
Yeah. We're we're definitely paying the price of just, I guess, consumerism, and I guess now it's artificial intelligence and the streaming and
it has completely changed the economics of the game industry, and I sincerely hope it finds its way through soon, because it is scary.
Definitely. Scary is the word. Scary is the word. So what about Dream Key Syndicate? Can you tell us a little bit about that venture?
Yeah, so I just got a reminder on LinkedIn that we've been working on this for 3 years, me and my partners, but I'm a co-founder and the chief creative officer for Dream Key Syndicate. So it's the current like founder group is me, Will Brierly, who is also from video games and also from working on like Adult Swim stuff. He's just like a genius at building tech. He built this kind of AI platform, AI engine, AI brain 8 years ago, like well before any of this stuff was really being talked about, that could put together a Broadway show. So like an off-Broadway show. So he had this character and they would invite celebrities up on stage off Broadway, and the person would get they would enter the character would, this animated character would pop up on the screen and like interview the person on stage and ask all these ridiculous questions. And all these tech people would show up being like, how are you doing this? Like, how is this work? This is like magic. So he's brilliant. He also made the video game that pretty much by himself, called Soda Drinker Pro, which is this very, very ridiculous, funny game that sold a lot of copies, where you just drink sodas on various beaches across the world and like various locations, and everything's done in like Microsoft Paint. So it's totally ridiculous. But if you explore and you like go through a secret wall, there's a whole other game inside of the game.
Oh wow!
It's fascinating. Called Veronica, or Vivian Clark is the name of the game inside of the game. So that's Will, and he's the reason for the season. He's what he's built is absolutely incredible. Then we have Keith Gard, who acts as our CEO. He's our CEO. Keith is somebody I look up to hugely and immensely every single day. He's a guy who's been around through the music industry since, the late 70s, early 80s, always at the helping artists adapt to new technologies and then use it to bring up their brand. He worked with Aerosmith through the late 80s and 90s to like some of their biggest stuff during that period, as well as getting them into video games, getting them into all sorts of tech, like and then creating like fan experiences that hadn't existed before. So he's just an absolute genius. And then we have another founding partner, Aaron Blayart, who is, you might know him from Conan O'Brien. So he's worked with Conan O'Brien for the past 25 years, I believe it is, working. So the show like Clueless Gamer, he came up with that. He's the co-host of that. And then he has numerous Emmys from working on various shows over there. So that's our core group. But then we have a few other people we've worked with. Obviously, since we're making animations, we work with artists. So we have a few artists who we work with who make our characters, design our backgrounds. They've worked on shows like Squidbillies for Adult Swim, and then Archer on the FX network. So we try to find really, really good people and keep them around.
Yeah. So what will you guys be? What will you be pushing out?
So what we do is we make this technology called the Dream Key Brain, or the Dream Key Engine. And what it does is we leverage our experience working in video games with video game engines. And we use it so that they can take it so we can create live interactive animated programs. So imagine a cartoon that goes out on Twitch or YouTube streaming or whatever, and the audience can send commands through the chat and then like change how the plot works. We can also create, and we can make interactive commercials with that, like in content interactive commercials, we have a brand sponsor, that sort of thing, all inside one ecosystem. But that also allows us to create VOD content. So we actually put out an animated program called The Angry Shaman on our YouTube channel, VCTV 9000, that's what I write. That's what I've been writing all day today, is I'm working on episode 5 of that show. But it just allows us to more quickly create animated program with the help of AI tools, But our whole point is, there's a lot of, tech companies, and their whole thing is like, go fast, break things.
Right.
And just trying to be disruptive. What we saw especially in AI and generative AI in entertainment, is that this idea of trying to replace creatives, replace humans in the process, which to us was like, people who don't know how to create things or aren't necessarily like creators or in entertainment trying to replace people who know how to create things, it just seemed like a bad idea. So we've been working on ways to make it so that making animation and making interactive animation is a lot more financially viable and allows you to take a lot more bites at the apple without actually replacing the creatives who make stuff. Everything that we make, there's humans involved every step of the way, from writing to animating to producing. There's always a person involved. Because that's the only way things are funny. That's the only way things are going to hit you on an emotional level.
Yeah, man. I hear you. It's just the fact that, man, I enjoy talking to people that are just ethical about the AI.
We actually say we're the ethical AI company.
Yeah. It's just, wow, man, what are you taking away when you're trying to add all of this? Think about what you're taking from people.
Yeah. There's a certain level of, especially in art, right? Like, there's an element of humanity. I don't want that taken away from people. I want humans telling their stories. I don't want robots telling our stories. Wow. It's very, very odd. So yeah, I mean, we have it as a part of the pipeline, as opposed to a lot of people who I think just want to replace the entire pipeline with AI, instead of just using it as a tool in your tool set. So that's why we want to make jobs for artists.
Okay. Yeah, man. Just let's keep AI as a quarter percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the whole thing. Just a quarter.
That's right. It allows us to create animated programs that people can interact with and have fun with, kind of like as a group, like 100 people watching a stream on Twitch, and they're all sending in commands and all of that and changing what's happened. Our first tests were actually on Twitch, where we ran the channel because we had a whole bunch of shows and all of them were interactive. It was anything from game shows to, we had a character that I wrote called Horace Copes. And he is a interstellar trucker who has been around since the beginning of the universe and had been through all sorts of like addiction problems and, has had his share of depression and all of that. But he just wanted to connect with people and like answer their questions and help them get through their life and day with like positivity and love. And when people tried to break him by trying to get him to say like horrible things, as that'll happen, he would, like I had written into his code, like, nah, that's not possible. You can't get him to stop doing it. Like you can't get him to say that. He will then turn around and be like, what are you doing, man? Why are you trying to get me to say, I'm not going to say that. That's not who I am. Fix yourself. Like, sort yourself out.
Right.
So yeah, we want people to be, and the whole time I was behind the screen while we're streaming that, and I could see what he was going to say from the questions that were sent in before he would say it. And if I didn't like what he was saying, I would be there because there's a human there the whole time, and I would rewrite on the fly what he was saying right before he would say it.
Right.
So you can't get that just generatively.
No.
You can't do that. So that's our whole reason, raison d'etre. That's our reason to be.
It's so cool because you can tell, you can see it coming from when I speak to, whether it's a coach, whether it's a business person, whether it's someone like yourself that does gaming or even music. You can tell that it comes from, and I speak to our generation, that it comes from our generation because it lines up with something that started way back when you were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're explaining to me, it kind of reminds me of, do you remember the old story of Choose Your Own Adventure?
Oh my God, I have a whole bunch of those books around here too. I still have them. I love those.
Yeah, I do too, man. But that's as you're explaining it to me, that's kind of what I'm visualizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it comes out of us at a later age, and no matter what we're doing, that's crazy.
I still love those. I still think that's such a beautiful art form. We did so one of the actually it's funny that you mentioned that because I've been wanting to play with that in some of our in our live environment we can absolutely do that. We even have two shows that are very choose your own adventure. We have one that's sort of like a Dungeons and Dragons one, and then we had another one that was sort of like a detective story, and the audience could like choose which paths the story went through. That was really
Right.
cool. But I've been playing around to really take that to the next level in some ways with how we do animated content on YouTube when we're not live, like just our VOD content. So we decided it would be funny if we did a Super Bowl special for a couple weeks ago. So that's episode 4. So it's a Super Bowl special, but the show has 2 endings. The episode has 2 endings. So you watch the first part of the show, and then it gets at the end. It's like, who do you want? Which ending do you want? Seahawks or Patriots? If you pick the Seahawks one, it has one ending. If you pick the Patriots one, it has a completely different ending. So it kind of has that. It really goes back to you 100% nailed it.
That's so awesome, and it's crazy because I don't know. Maybe I'm just in tune, but for me, it's like easy to see that. Yes, I can see where this thinking comes from.
Yeah, it's we wear our hearts on our sleeves and our creative process very much on our sleeves. Like that's there's we'll have mornings where we'll just like jump on our stand up, our creative group, and we'll just jump up and it'll just be like, hey, what do we want to do today? Like what's like what would be like nuts. So a few weeks ago for the episode 3, I hit up Will and I was just like, I want to add another character to this show. For the show that we're putting out next week, I want to add a whole other character with all of his own all his own art, all his own animations, and we got that done and put it out like the next week. And it was like this. It was awesome. That's my favorite episode. Is episode 3. One of the characters in the group has started dating an AI boyfriend, and the AI boyfriend is clearly just in marketing and just trying to like MLMs and like trying to like upsell them on all of the stuff that they don't need. And just they said one of the lines I wrote in there that I really like was somebody goes, "Oh my God, he's not in love, he's in sales." Which which now that you're seeing what some of the AI companies are doing in their responses, actually adding in ads when you're on Chat GPT, that's
Wow,
it's not that far off.
it's
not
not.
that far.
It's not at all.
Here.
How often will these episodes be coming out? I did go to the YouTube. I actually thought the Super Bowl ads. I thought they were streaming the Super Bowl, so I scrolled down, and I think I might have watched episode 2 or 3.
Oh, nice. So yeah, we try to put out an episode every 1 to 2 weeks. We've slowed down just because we've been working on a few other contracts we've had coming through and some of our other business needs coming through. We're still a very small group looking to grow, but I'm aiming to have that a new episode out every week because I write it and then we work together to like with the team to get it produced, which getting multiple takes when we run our program on it, and then edit the whole thing in Premiere and then put it out. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's a lot faster than traditional animation.
Okay.
And I'd like to get it down to 1 week. Yeah.
Okay. So as a business, I'm going to put on my business marketing hat here. As a business, what are you guys looking? Of course, you're looking to bring in money. Are you looking for? Tell me how that works. Particular business people that you could work for and provide services for, or advertisers, investors. How does that work for you, your business?
Kind of all of it. Our main push is building the content. We are, the model we built ourselves up on is sort of the Pixar model. A lot of people don't realize Pixar was around since the early 80s. They weren't making Toy Story or anything. That they created the first like real like CGI animated software, which was called, it still exists. It's called RenderMan. And a lot of people didn't know who they were outside of, do you remember a movie called The Young Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah.
It was like in like the 80s came out. So their famous thing is there's a part where somebody gets drugged and they're inside of a church and there's like a knight on the stained glass windows. And then the stained glass window comes down and starts going and trying to attack them. That was actually Pixar. They had built that. So they had started off with this software package, and they, were selling that functionally to other studios until they decided to use it themselves. And then you get Toy Story, you get that whole part of it, but they never stopped making RenderMan. So for us, we're kind of have that sort of hatchet and handle approach, where we're starting with, we built the software, we used ourselves, we're building out content with it. We want to prove it out by showing what you can do with it. Where we've been working so far has largely been people who want shows from us, like Angry Shaman, or we have another show coming soon where we've partnered with the drummer from Aerosmith, Joey Kramer, where we have a fun sort of Looney Tunes inspired show with him coming out in the next couple of months. And we get, through funding along those lines, we'll take that. Also working with brand sponsors for creating ads, creating inserts for them, basically whatever they would need, or ad agencies, however that would work. But then obviously working with, investors as well, who kind of align with what we're trying to do, so that we can, make this software available to other people as well. Because that would be our dream. It really democratizes the process, and we would love to see more people be able to tell their stories in animation and just have fun with it. We think that's really, really important, and something.
Man, that's amazing. I'm glad that you put it on the level of a level that I could see and can be explained, and that being Pixar.
Yeah,
I think about a graphic. I used to do graphics, and in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, there was a company that came out called Pen and Pixel. And so
yes,
they did graphics so much differently than everyone else. And now everyone was using this company.
Yep.
And so I understand that's where my mind went to, but I understand exactly what you mean by you do it in a sense, you do it in a way that you are your own software. You are your own entity. And in that sense, you can have the investors, you can have your story be told from your purview.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, once we can get this software at that point where we can, get it out to people, I just want to see people who have always been interested in animation, but just seeing the expense, because it is expensive to make a show. It is really, really expensive to make a show. And then you got to go out to big, huge investors, and then, or like a big, huge network. And then they're going to just cut all the edges off of your show until, it's like all of the market. It's no longer really your show. It's not really necessarily the story you want to tell. And I've certainly seen that happen many, many times. But if you can make the show that you want with sort of a smaller team, not necessarily like cutting out all of the creative people, but you can make it in a faster way.
Yeah.
It means that you can put something out without a crazy amount of expense, not require a whole bunch of investors to make that show. And you can do something way riskier, something that a network would never pick up, but there's definitely an audience for.
Right.
And you can kind of own your own story at that point. And there's something about that I think that's really powerful.
I do too. I agree. Where do you guys see yourself in the next 5-10 years?
Hopefully taking over all of animation, not all of it, but certainly, I bringing a new. One of the things we always talk about in our meetings is that we're not trying to replace traditional animation. We love traditional animation. I would love to see more things that are hand-drawn animation. Absolutely. But what we would like to do is provide this we call it like a new lane of entertainment. Like when TV happened, it didn't replace radio. When movies happened, it didn't replace theater. Like they make space for each other, and these things happen. And sort of these live interactive experiences where people can interact with the cartoon together in a group, whether that's at home on a TV or in a theater environment, whatever it is. We want to own that lane of entertainment, and we want to make that a real thing. The same way that when Pong came out, all of a sudden video games were a thing, and everybody wanted to jump on that. Like, yeah, we want to own that, and we want to make sure we're doing it in a way where young people coming up who want to be artists, who want to be voice actors, who want to be musicians or like score things. And every aspect of the arts and production, that they have a place to do that they have a way to do that and make a living doing so. I think that's really vital.
That's so awesome, man. I commend you on that and making a pathway for younger artists.
Oh, thank you.
Sean, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just gonna say it's like we whenever we, for example, talk to people, they talk about, oh, my kid is like wanted to go to school for like art, but then with all of the AI stuff, it just feels like they can't do it. Like there's no reason. It feels like by the time you graduate, none of the jobs will exist. There's nothing sadder to me than somebody who's being discouraged from the arts.
Yeah.
I also think just, in the way, I think who was I listening to? Branford Marsalis. And he was talking about how his father and he was talking about how the lack of, no matter what you do for a job in life, knowing things about art, understanding how art works, understanding sort of that sort of liberal arts education where it's, you understand, you can read a book and understand imagery, like the imagery that's in that book. You can like look at a painting and see what the painter was saying or have some sort of idea. You have a way of decoding it and understanding what art means. That'll help every single person. I don't care if you're an executive or if you're a janitor or whatever, like understanding those things is understanding people. And that's what that's what we try to do, man, is like make sure that people that this continues being something that humans want to interact with and want to put out into the world and tell stories.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's not draw things up. Let's just not do that.
That's right.
So, Sean, someone wants to work with you or even invest with you. How do they get in touch? What's the next step?
So, yeah, they can certainly reach out to us. We're Dream Key Syndicate on LinkedIn. We have a website, dreamkey.ai. People can also find our manifesto on there. We decided it would be really fun to write a manifesto about our entire process. And there's a really good explanation of how we do things. And we would love to talk to them, especially if they're, feeling kind of what we're doing. We would love to have that conversation.
Okay. All right. Well, Sean, I want to thank you for coming on this show today and speaking with us and giving us all of the value, that we didn't know about gaming. We was just on the other side of it. We didn't know about the backdrop and what all goes into it. So thanks for sharing that information with us, man. That was so cool. And I hope anyone that's out there listening, we kind of took you down memory lane in a sense.
I really appreciate it. This has been really, really fun. Absolutely. Also, if anybody wants to check out some of the animations we've done, we're VCTV 9000 on YouTube. And people can also just look up the Angry Shaman on there and see kind of the stuff we're working on.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. All right, man. So until next time, we want to thank Sean for coming on today. And to anyone that's out there listening, just remember the motto: keep making moves, make money, and make meaningful memories. Until next time, we'll see you later.